It is mock draft time. Steve Palazzolo here with Mike Renner, and Mike just put together your second mock draft?
Second mock, yes.
All right, second mock draft of the year. We're going to go through it. You guys can maybe see my mock draft from a couple weeks ago. Mike picked it apart, and we're going to turn the tables a little bit and see what happened with Renner's mock here. Just to be clear, you're doing this based off of a prediction, correct?
Yes, what I think the teams will do, not necessarily what I would do.
I like to do it the other way, but this is good. People like this. People want to know what you think their team is going to do. So let's start right at the top. The Arizona Cardinals have the #1 overall pick. You're going with Nick Bosa. Was anybody else in consideration here?
I mean, Josh Allen was in consideration because realistically, they are moving to a 3-4. Josh Allen probably a better fit at outside linebacker. You know, he has the more natural traits for a 3-4 outside linebacker. But at the end of the day, you're still rushing the passer 90+% of the time as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Give me the guy who can rush the passer better. That's Bosa. I know he said he doesn't really want to play with his hand up. He doesn't want to play from a two-point stance. He'd rather have his hand in the dirt. I don't really give a damn. I'm taking the best pass rusher. It's him, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, that's right. You're just getting after the quarterback.
Reason's gonna prevail here, I believe.
And on third down in nickel packages, there is no 3-4 or 4-3 anymore. You're just going to get the quarterback for the most part. The #2 pick, you went with the same guy that I went with and what I would do. And we took a lot of heat for this because the 49ers going with Quinnen Williams. They have a major need at edge. They've been drafting interior defensive linemen over the last few years, but why is Quinnen Williams still a great fit?
Well, so all their interior defensive linemen are 3 techniques. They do not have a nose tackle still. That has still been an issue for them. So Quinnen Williams fills that role. Yes, there's a need at edge, but if you just objectively evaluate between Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen as a pass rusher, as a run defender, you're going with Quinnen Williams 10 times out of 10. The positional value there is similar, so at that point, it's a need. Positional value, he's better. Go Quinnen Williams, he's a no-brainer.
All right, so here's where things get interesting. The #3 pick is owned by the New York Jets. However, you have the Denver Broncos trading up to #3 to take Dwayne Haskins. By the way, some of the trades that you put in here, all realistic because there's a few QB needy teams and a few teams up here that don't need quarterbacks. I do think we expect a lot of movement on draft night. So what happened here? Broncos move up to the Jets.
Yeah, I added trades this because realistically, we saw last year there were 7 trades in the first round. There's going to be trades. If you don't put trades in your mock draft, you're basically, it's not going to be close to realistic. So, and also the fact that the matter is the only quarterbacks that have been drafted that weren't trade ups over the past handful of seasons, Baker Mayfield, it is a lot of guys, Baker Mayfield's the only one, excuse me. So a lot of guys, if you need a quarterback, you're going to trade up to get them. That is just how it works in the NFL. So Broncos need a quarterback. They can't realistically, John Elway can't look that fan base in the eye and send out Case Keenum next season. They got to get somebody. I believe Dwayne Haskins is going to be the guy. I know the smokescreen right now is that they like Drew Lock. That's very possible.
You're not buying into that?
I think at the end of the day, again, we thought the Browns were going to pick Josh Allen for months last season. Ended up being Baker Mayfield. I think Dwayne Haskins ends up being the guy for the Broncos.
And the Broncos have some teams to jump if they do want to get their quarterback because the Jaguars, the Giants, they need quarterbacks. Their teams, and the Raiders could be potentially in the mix if they want to. Let's go to #4, the Raiders. They go get Josh Allen, the guy that we talked about before. Pretty natural edge out of Kentucky and a great season last year.
Yeah, I think this is the ideal scenario for the Raiders, is to have someone jump up for a QB above them because, I'll say this a bunch this draft season, these 3, Bosa, Williams, Josh Allen, are the clear-cut top 3 in this draft. If you can snag one of those 3 guys, you do it. There is a drop-off in talent after those 3. I think they're all pretty much sure things there.
And then at #5, the Tampa Bay Bucks. This was a surprise for me because when we've evaluated Cleveland Farrell from Clemson, we've had him as a fringe first round guy. I think maybe ultimately he ends up in the first round for us in our top 32 by the end of the evaluation process. But why at #5 to the Bucks here?
Yeah, Cleveland Farrell, Bruce Arians gets his Chandler Jones. He has ideal size, length to play the run and pass. I'm not sure he's going to step in right away and produce, but he has those sort of traits to, I think, develop into that kind of player. So the top edge of the first round is where you draft value positions. Cleveland Farrell, again, top value position there at the edge.
All right, #6, the New York Giants. They get their quarterback, Drew Lock from Missouri, another guy that we might end up having in this range, which I know is not realistic because this is where people need their quarterback. But there's some risk with Drew Lock based off what we've seen at Missouri this high in the draft.
Yeah, even if you have Eli Manning, I think the Giants, this is the year they're going to address it. Even if Eli Manning returns, because if Eli Manning does return, there's no telling where you're going to draft next season. He could have even if he has a solid year next year, you're probably more realistically drafting in the teens, and then it's going to be near impossible to get your guy at the quarterback position. So I think they end up getting one. Drew Lock would be the best on the board after Haskins, so I think that would be where they'd go.
And the interesting one here at number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars still likely in the quarterback market, but they're going to go DK Metcalf, the wide receiver from Ole Miss who has electric big playability.
Yeah, they just had nothing down the field after Allen Robinson tore his ACL and then left to go to Chicago. No real playmakers down the field. DK Metcalf is that guy, has the high-level reps on tape there at Ole Miss. The traits that you like, the production, not necessarily as consistent, but his utilization there in the Ole Miss offense was a little weird. Got injured this past season, so I think he ends up there when it's all said and done.
Another guy whose production hasn't really met the hype yet, but is getting top 10 type of hype is Rashawn Gary, going to the Detroit Lions. Another guy that we'd probably have in this range at best based off what we saw in film. But again, you're predicting what teams will do, and they'll probably fall in love with that athleticism.
Yeah, he's basically a bull rush only guy at this point, but God only made so many 280-plus pound guys as explosive as Rashawn Gary. It worked out well when they took a project in Ziggy Ansah. That's a similar mold to Gary there.
All right, coming in next at number 9, the Washington Redskins are going to trade up with the Buffalo Bills. And these next 2 picks, there's a couple trade-ups, and I do think it's interesting that the Bills, they got their quarterback last year, the Jets got their quarterback last year. They have the ability to trade down now, accumulate picks, build around their quarterbacks. I think that's a good move. The Redskins, they have Alex Smith, broken leg last year, rumors that he's not even going to play next year, so all of a sudden the Redskins are in the QB market.
Yeah, for the Bills, pretty much the value at offensive skill position does not mesh there in the top 10, and that's what they need at the moment. I'd be hard-pressed them going too much defense in this draft, but the Redskins are behind the 8 ball at the moment with Alex Smith's injury. Really screwed them cap-wise because they can't get rid of that contract anytime soon. He's not going to play this year, so basically, you got to tear down and rebuild at this point. And with that in mind, you go get your QB now. A guy like Kyler Murray, who's going to need some seasoning at the NFL level in a few years, he's ready, and then you have the team to build around him at that point. I think they end up getting their guy. I think they end up going quarterback somewhere in this draft for sure.
And our board has Kyler Murray as the number 1 quarterback, followed by Dwayne Haskins. You've got, as a prediction, Haskins, Locke, and then Murray going at number 9. And then at 10, as we said, the Jets, they traded down from number 3. Get Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle from Florida. I like this move for the Jets because we're assuming they've accumulated 2nd and 3rd round picks with this trade. Great way to build a team, even if you miss out on one of the elite defensive talents up there.
Yeah, exactly. Trade down, get someone to build around Sam Darnold because they really didn't have a lot of talent there. And again, the skill positions is going to be, the value is going to be more here. So offensive line is a deep class this year. Jawan Taylor, I could see him rising to the top of it, could play either tackle position, long arms, athletic. I think he ends up going highly in this draft.
Number 11, the Cincinnati Bengals take Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU. I mean, this is one of the best fits in the entire draft.
I was going to say, it's need, value, the playmaking ability of Devin White. I mean, that was probably the worst linebacking core in the NFL. They gave up more yards than any other linebacking core in the NFL. He would step in and just add some much-needed athleticism. I mean, him versus Vontaze Burfict is night and day athletically.
Yeah, White can cover a ton of ground, both in the run game and in pass coverage. Number 12, the Green Bay Packers taking Jonah Williams. This is an interesting one. They've got David Bakhtiari at left tackle. Where does Jonah Williams fit in with the Packers?
Yeah, I keep seeing Jonah Williams' value going down and down. NFL seeing him more as a guard. The Packers have loved to transition or college tackles to guard at the NFL level. Williams could do that right away, step in at right guard, which is a huge need for them last year. Byron Bell was not it. They do need a new right guard. He could do that and then be the long-term replacement for Brian Bulaga at right tackle. It just makes sense from a team-building aspect.
Yeah, I don't mind moving Jonah Williams to guard if you have good tackles and if that's your strategy. I just don't want to move him to guard just because he might have some short arms. That's always been my argument. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins. They're going to go Daniel Jones, the QB out of Duke. Another guy that we have not necessarily in the first round in our projections, but the NFL seems to like him, and the Dolphins have to move on at quarterback.
Yeah, a lot of quarterback-needy teams. I see the Jaguars going after quarterback in free agency because they're built to win right now. That's the team that needs to, so that's why they passed on it, but the Dolphins are not built to win right now. They can't go in, but you also can't go into the 2019 season just ignoring the quarterback position because rumors are they're going to move on from Tannehill. They should move on from Tannehill, but you just can't look your fan base in the eye with no plan at the quarterback position and not having drafted one. So at that point, this is a team I really see as being a contender to reach for a quarterback that they probably shouldn't be taking in the first round, unfortunately.
Wow. So 4 quarterbacks come off the board in the top 13 in a class that we think has major question marks at the quarterback position, but it is part of that risk reward that you might have to take as an organization. Number 14, the Atlanta Falcons, another good fit, potentially Ed Oliver out of Houston, interior defensive lineman. There were some rumors about him moving to middle linebacker, Mike. He does have defensive back type skills from an agility standpoint, but he still probably deserves a shot rushing the passer.
I was going to say, the Falcons have needs basically up and down that front seven, so wherever they want him to play, he could play, and he fits with basically their defensive philosophy in Atlanta. Take athletes, teach them how to play football better, just plug them in that scheme and let their natural athleticism take over. It depends on what happens with Grady Jarrett, because obviously he's a free agent. If they re-sign him, might not be as big a need there, but still he can play interior. He might move to edge at the NFL level or even linebacker, but that athleticism is elite level.
And at number 15, the Buffalo Bills, they traded down, so this is from the Washington Redskins. Everybody's expecting the Bills to go offense, but you go Byron Murphy, the cornerback out of Washington.
Like I said, the value's still not making sense at the skill positions, and when they trade down, they're accumulating more picks later in the draft. That's when the value's going to make sense at skill positions. Add the cornerback across from Tre'Davious White, best zone skills of any cornerback in this draft. All of a sudden, you have 2 fantastic cornerbacks there, and Levi Walls, who excelled as a rookie. You have a makings of a dominant defense.
I really like that from a team building standpoint, because Murphy is a great fit, as you said, for that scheme and the idea of having those 2 really good corners.
Yes.
And if you have those 2nd and 3rd round picks, you can build those receivers in line in the
and then you have them for 3 straight seasons. Have them under contract, rig contracts for 3+ seasons there. That'd be huge.
All right, Bills fans, don't hate on that cornerback pick.
Exactly.
Just wait, be patient on the offensive side. And then number 16, the Carolina Panthers, they need some youth at edge. I feel like I've been mock drafting edge defenders to them for years now.
Yeah.
They're going to go onto the edge. Montez Sweat from Mississippi State.
Yeah, Peppers retire. Still have Mario Addison on one side, but fits the mold of the long defensive ends that they like there in that Panthers defense. So I think it would be a seamless sort of transition from Peppers to Sweat.
All right, let's get to the second half of the first round here. The Cleveland Browns, another pick that I love. My boy DeAndre Baker, the cornerback from Georgia. You pair him with Denzel Ward, another great way to build your defense.
Exactly, and again, you have them under contract. 4 straight years you'd have them both under contract for cheap at one of the most expensive positions in the NFL and one of the most premium, in my opinion, the second most important position after quarterback. I think if they could get one of the top cornerbacks in their draft, that would be a no-brainer for them. Needs in the front 7, yes, but cornerback still also a need as well.
Cornerback always, should probably trump edge defender if you have a toss-up. Number 18, Minnesota Vikings, Cody Ford, another one of those mock draft selections. I think we're going to see quite a bit. He was a tackle at Oklahoma, could play guard at the next level.
Yeah, it's going to be, you're not going to see a lot of mock drafts that don't have him going offensive line in the first round, and for good reason. It was one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Has the ability to play tackle or guard, and which would make sense for them because they may need tackle in the future here soon, but can start right away at guard for them, which is their biggest need by far.
Number 19, Tennessee Titans going Marquise Brown, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma, so back-to-back Oklahoma picks. He brings a speed element to that offense for Mariota.
Yeah, he is what modern offenses need, speed down the field, the ability to separate. Mariota, 450 deep passing yards all season long. There were multiple receivers that had more deep receiving yards than Mariota had deep passing yards. Marquise Brown could be one of them next year if plugged into that offense.
And I like that compliment to Corey Davis, who fits a little bit more on the possession receiver type of spectrum. Number 20, so the Chiefs have this pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going to go cornerback. So they traded up here.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So it's kind of we saw a little bit of a run here in my mock on corners. In my opinion, there are 3 really solid ones in this draft that should be going first round. Baker, Murphy, and then Greedy Williams. And so Greedy Williams has the best press man coverage skills of them. Chiefs, they've been a press man team in the past, but I think that's the cornerbacks they've coveted, so they'll still probably play a lot of man coverage under Steve Spagnuolo. So they trade up from here to get the last one, Greedy Williams at number 20 here.
Greedy Williams, maybe the best pure man corner, yes, and a fit for what the Chiefs have liked to do with their scheme. An aggressive move, again, by the Chiefs. They're trying to win with Patrick Mahomes.
They have this window that is open right now that they need to take advantage of.
21, the Seattle Seahawks going Ja'Kai Polite. He's the edge defender from Florida. They need to revamp their pass rush.
Exactly. They've loved the speed rushers, Bruce Irvin, Cliff Averill. Now they're both gone, though. Aro retired. Ja'Kai Polite in that sort of mold. I think he fits into what they've been missing on the defensive line.
Number 22, the Baltimore Ravens going Dalton Reisner, the offensive tackle for Kansas State. How does he fit in with their scheme?
It's probably going to kick in the guard, but the thing is, they're all in on Lamar Jackson now. I think they're going to make that decision this offseason, which means all of a sudden offensive line gets far more important because they're going to be run heavy, they're going to be pounding the rock a ton, and if you have that dominant offensive line paired with that option run scheme, it is going to be difficult to stop for opposing defenses. Reisner starts at guard there, probably at left guard with Yanda still in the fold, but Yanda probably only a few more useful years left, so you're going to need as much help as you can along that offensive line.
Another team that needs offensive line help at 23, the Houston Texans. They're going to go offensive tackle Andre Dillard from Washington State. I think we're going to see a lot of mock drafts that have Dillard or other tackles.
For Vikings, it's going to be guard. For Texans, it's always going to be tackle just because it's that big of a need. Julian Davenport allowed the most pressures of any tackle in the league last year. They also chipped their tackles, as much as any team in the league, and they still were bad. Andre Dillard, second highest pass blocking grade in the nation among tackles this last year. Took a lot of pass sets there at Washington State. He could be NFL ready from that standpoint in terms of just how many pass plays he's seen at this point.
All right, let's take the next Raiders picks together. They have 24 and 27. I keep saying over and over again, this can be a game-changing draft for the Raiders, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and that's what you did. They already got Josh Allen on the edge. Christian Wilkins, the interior defensive lineman from Clemson, and then cornerback Amani Oruwariye from Penn State. They are going all defense here in your mind.
All defense, and obviously if you watched them play at all last year, you would understand why they're going all defense. Allen, they get the edge rush. Christian Wilkins, they get some interior pressure as well. And then Amani Oruwariye, I usually get it now, but that was still bad. Amani Oruwariye, the best cornerback at the Senior Bowl, highest win rate there in the one-on-ones, 6'1", has the length. Pair him across from Gary and Connolly. Again, another team pairing two young corners together. I think they have to hit cornerback and they have to hit pass rush somewhere in this first round.
Yeah, I like that mock for the Raiders on the defensive side of the ball. And then at 25, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to go back to rebuilding that defensive line. Edge defender Jalen Ferguson out of Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, everything points to Brandon Graham being gone. Jalen Ferguson very much in the Brandon Graham mold in terms of explosive, bull rusher off of that left side, can just step in right away and add some bull rush pressure, get him and Fletcher Cox collapsing the pocket. You can't let that D-line fall off too much with how just ugly the secondary is at this point. I think you want that to be the calling card of your defense. Keep those pockets collapsing on opposing quarterbacks. He can do that.
Eagles have had the best defensive line in the league the last 2 seasons. Number 26, Indianapolis Colts coach Jeffrey Simmons, interior defensive lineman from Mississippi State.
Yes.
I still think he's a top 10 to 15 type of prospect, has a little off-field to worry about.
Exactly. He is a top 10 sort of prospect. I think he ends up dropping because I just think some teams will take him off his board altogether. The optics of drafting a guy who is on videotape, punching a girl back in high school, just not going to be good for your franchise. So that's probably why he ends up going later than expected. But again, the talent there meets the need in terms of Colts. Really no interior pressure a season ago. He can bring that to the table.
Yeah, good pass rusher, good against the run as well. We'll skip the Raiders again to 28, the Los Angeles Chargers. I really like this pick. Nasir Adderley from Delaware in that cover 3 scheme.
This was my favorite pick of the entire first round in terms of where, slotting into where need and the value of the pick and just basically where he fits in that defense. He is a center fielder with speed to go sideline to sideline. Pair him with Derwin James from a season ago, and now all of a sudden you have the center fielder, you have the playmaker in the box. I think a true playmaker on that back end with those deep balls could change this defense, take it to the next level. If he steps in right away and produces like he did at Delaware, he could, that could be the best defense in the NFL we're talking about next season.
A couple years ago, I kept giving the Chargers Malik Hooker for that same reason as the true free safety. Adderley's one of the better true free safeties to come out in recent years. The Steelers, they traded down, so now they're at 29, and they're going to go tight end, TJ Hawkinson from Iowa. Steelers fans hate when you go tight end, Mike. I warned you about this because Vance McDonald broke out last year, but if you're talking about winning in the NFL these days in the pass game, I think multiple tight ends, multiple wide receivers, you can never put too much pressure on the defense.
And now you have he's a very good run blocker. You have 2 guys who can inline block, 2 guys who can be mismatch weapons. We saw what the Patriots did in terms of those heavy sets in the playoffs, how much that can put stress on the defense and give you mismatches. If Antonio Brown's not in the fold, they need as many playmakers offensively as you can get. I think Hawkinson is one of those.
All right, number 30, the Green Bay Packers. This pick from the New Orleans Saints. and they're going to go Jerry Tillery, the interior defensive lineman from Notre Dame. Is Jerry Tillery getting enough hype at this point?
I don't think he is. Truthfully, I see him more in the top 10 range in terms of what he brings to the table as a pass rusher. And now you pair him with Mike Daniels, Kenny Clark, and we've seen Mike Pettine's defense. He likes to use the 3-down lineman to rush the passer, not as much as outside linebackers, doesn't rely more on edge rushes, relies more on blitz pressure, and he is a weapon in terms of what he can do on stunts. One of the most complete pass rushing skill sets of any of the interior defenders already, so I think that's a good fit. The defense took a step back when they didn't have Muhammad Wilkerson, and Mike Daniels had some injuries last year. I think that could be key to them in 2019.
All right, rounding out the draft, the Los Angeles Rams at number 31. They're going Mack Wilson, the linebacker from Alabama. I don't know that he's necessarily a first-round talent. The NFL seems to like him. He's very explosive and certainly a need for the Rams.
Yeah, they just at linebacker just were a little soft, especially. We saw it in the Super Bowl. They could get pounded on those when the offensive linemen got to the second level. They were screwed there. Those Rams linebackers, one of the weaknesses of the defense. Wilson adds a lot more thump against the run. Is an athletic playmaker in his own right. I think just fits into what that defense needs.
And then coming in at number 32, the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots go Dexter Lawrence, interior defensive lineman from Clemson.
And not a lot of teams, I don't think, really value the nose tackle. Patriots, though, would be one who would still draft a nose tackle in the first round. We saw them, trade a third-rounder for Danny Shelton's over the course of the offseason. Lawrence adds a lot more pass rush, brings a lot more explosiveness than Shelton does to the table. That pocket-pushing ability is very much coveted in that Patriots defense. I think they would be one of the teams that would certainly draft him in the first.
Yeah, Lawrence is more than just a run stopper, not just a 2-down player, can actually be out there on pass rushing downs, and a guy that we've seen mocked in the top half, and that could be good value at 32. Pretty good mock.
Did you hate it?
No, it wasn't too bad.
Worst mock ever?
Well, no, it's always the worst mock ever. We'll let people comment, and you guys can let us know what you guys think about your favorite team and what they did. But nice job, Mike.
Thank you.
Mike Renner's mock draft number 2. Let us know what you guys think, and be sure to get to ProFootballFocus.com for Mike's full write-up on every pick.